Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shout at the Oval podcast. It has been a while, but we're back again, and I am back with another guest, another first team player. It is, of course, Glentoran midfielder Cameron Palmer. Cameron, welcome to the podcast. Thanks very much for coming on, being a guest.
Yes, thanks for bringing me on.
So what we're going to do, Cameron, is we're going to talk about your career so far. Quite a varied career. Quite a varied life, I suppose. You've lived in many places. Born in York, but moved to Canada very young.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Canada. Tell me about that. What was it like growing up in Canada?
Well, yeah, so I was 8 months old when I moved to Canada, so I pretty much was born in Canada. But my dad was a pastor, he still is a pastor, so we moved through him, and yeah, I think mum and dad just wanted a different opportunity. So yeah, Canada was brilliant. You got some nice weather, you got all the seasons when you wanted them, not all in one day, and it was brilliant. I think having two older brothers was great for me because we were constantly playing any sport that we could do. We played American football, hockey, baseball, but we all played football, and my dad was a coach for my brother's teams, so I was just constantly at the pitches, helping them out, running on at half time. So yeah, it was brilliant, and probably really helped me, toughened me up and challenged me playing with two older brothers. So yeah, I always had great memories of Canada. Also, when you're young, you're just tagging along with everybody. And yeah, always very fun memories playing there.
Was it hard to then get in? Because obviously football isn't the top sport in Canada. It's not. It's their national sport's hockey. So was it hard to then get into sort of football over there, play for a team, that sort of thing, or what was it like?
I think because like obviously my brothers and my mum and dad obviously lived in York before and grew up in Northern Ireland and Scotland, so like all we've been used to is football. So going over there, I didn't think there was any doubt. We all love playing football and watching football and things. So even if we had to start our own team, I think we probably would have over there. So yeah, it's like in schools and stuff, it's not as popular, but yeah, there's loads of teams, and when we were over there, it really, really grew. Soccer, as I say, over there. So yeah, it was quite easy, like I said, and yeah.
The next World Cup's in Canada, you think you'll get over and try to take any couple of games?
Well, I think I could technically play for Canada.
I think you need for a call up.
Yeah, I think I could maybe. I think you can get like a passport. I don't have a passport, but I'm sure I can apply for one. So
my mate's lived in Canada since like early 2010s, and he's got a Canadian passport. So
okay.
He's not allowed to leave the country for something like 2 years. It's like citizenship. So you
okay.
So you might get the call up.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be great. Take that.
Well, you made a move to the Rangers quite young. How did you get spotted in Canada by Rangers?
Well, one of the coaches that I played for in Canada used to play for Rangers, and obviously had loads of contact with Rangers. So when he knew we were coming back home for family and things, he put my name forward to Rangers. So I was quite fortunate in that end to have those contacts, and then it was literally when Rangers were going through an administration, so I was on trial I think for about 6 months, because they were trying to sort all the money and sorting things. Not that I was too expensive, but yeah, so moved over there and then was on trial for. I basically felt like I'd signed, and then signed 6 months later, which was brilliant.
Did your whole family move over then from Canada to Scotland?
Yeah, well, just through the church. Dad moved to another church, and also we had my mum's family were from Scotland, and then Dad's family were from Belfast, so it was to be close to them as well. So it wasn't just for me.
Right. Okay.
But also for football, probably Mum and Dad had an idea that there were probably more opportunities over in Scotland than in Canada. So yeah, I landed on my feet in that end, and had great memories at Rangers.
What was it like playing? Because Rangers are an institution; they're a huge football club.
Yeah.
Well, and just to wear that badge of Rangers and train at those facilities. What was that like? What was that like as a sort of coming over from Canada and settling in there?
It was good. I mean, I wasn't so aware of. I knew about Rangers, but I didn't really know too much about the history. I didn't know how big a club they were. So for me, I probably didn't know what I was like walking into. I just knew that they were a really good team, and obviously I was probably more worried about, will I like fit in? Will I be up to the standard? So yeah, but it was a big transition because you're coming into a new environment. Obviously, Canada and Scotland aren't too much different, but just like the whole culture, the humour, the everything is different. Yeah, as a kid, I was 11 years old, so you're not really thinking about the size of the club and the weight of the shirt. You're playing football and you want to get to be the best you can be. And obviously being in that environment, it was so challenging that you didn't really have time to sit and think about all that was going on. And also, when you're a kid, you don't realise these things. It's probably more now where you look back and realise how like privileged you were to play at such a high level and at a big club. There's probably more as you grow up in the academy, as you get to 16, 17, 18, when you start to get a sense of what's going on, maybe start to train with the first team a bit more, and then go to watching like the games at Ibrox and stuff. But definitely, like towards the end of the time at Rangers, you knew how big the club was, and gave you a wee taste of that, and give you more motivation to be at that level.
You captained the reserve side. That must have been, a great privilege to captain the reserve, even a reserve level team of a club that size.
Yeah, well, I've never really seen myself as a captain. I'm not really a really vocal or a loud person, so part of me was quite surprised to be the captain. But I think the coaches reassured me, and that I wasn't a captain just for barking at everybody and shouting at everybody, but because how I performed on the pitch, how I just got along with all the guys off the pitch, and was a leader, and just how I went about my business. So that gave me a lot of confidence, because I think as a young kid you want to be the loud kid, you want to be the really confident one, you want to be the one scoring all the goals, and I was never really that kid. I was always the one that worked really hard and just gave a lot to the team, and was really focused on being unselfish and doing these things. So it gave me a lot of confidence, I think, that I can play at that level. I don't need to be a super confident and loud player to make it to the top. I can just be the player that I am. So it was brilliant. We won the league that year, which was great. We got beaten in the cup final to Celtic on like a last minute goal, which was heartbreaking.
I watched that interview on YouTube.
Yeah, I was trying to get out of it, but yeah, it was brilliant just to experience that, and something I'd love to be captain in the future. That's something it's such a great honour, and I think also gives you a wee lift in your performances and just how you go about your business. It was great. And that season actually we did a games programme instead of being in the league, just to give us a different challenge. So we flew over Europe and we played games against Bayern Munich and Benfica, and played against like teams like Man City, Man U, just all the teams in Europe. So being captain of those games were amazing. Playing against really, really high level opposition, which was amazing. Some guys playing in Europe's top leagues. So yeah, just being exposed to that was class, and it just gave me a wee bit more, gave me a wee motivation to go further up the level.
When you were there for 10 years. So when you were there, Stephen Gerrard was obviously manager. I've listened to Peter Crouch say that Stephen Gerrard has this aura about him, that whenever he was at Liverpool, he just felt this need to impress him all the time. I'm sure Gerrard was probably down watching your games and things. What was it like having someone of that stature sort of watch on?
Yeah, I think from when I was there was a few managers, but Rangers kind of were obviously coming up through the leagues, and didn't quite have like that presence. Obviously Celtic were winning everything, so when Gerrard came in, you notice a massive change. I think at that stage I was about 19 or 20, well 18 or 19, so started to train with the first team a bit more, and then just seeing the difference between the different managers that was there, it was second to none. Like the attention to detail, having Gary McAllister, Michael Beale, the training was something I'd never seen before. I remember like forgetting to do certain drills because it was just like everything was like so to the point. And yeah, the standard was so high. I think he just set the standard and without saying anything, he wasn't like constantly trying to encourage the boys or say things. I think boys just knew by the way he spoke, like by the conviction in his voice, by the how he conducted himself. I think boys, and then obviously the career he had, you can't really argue with him, you can't really not work for him, because the boys want to get to that level and know what it's like. So it was good. I always remember being afraid of him because he was
intimidating.
Yeah, it was just not that he ever said anything to me or said anything to make me feel intimidated by him, but it was more what he didn't say. Like maybe as a young boy you're hoping for like a wee bit of encouragement or him to like, you know, put an arm around you, but he wasn't really like that, which I found tough because you didn't know what he was thinking about you. You didn't know like if he rated you, if he didn't rate you. And I remember in training one time he was on my team, and I remember I had an absolute shocker, and I just like, he didn't say anything, but just look on his face, it was just like disappointment. He was like, oh for goodness sake. So yeah, he definitely had that presence about him, which I think Rangers needed at the time, and obviously winning the league was what they needed, but they needed a real leader. He didn't really take a lot of training, it was more the other guys, because I think he just wanted to focus on being the manager and kind of taking a step back, but he was brilliant. And I think it was just good to be exposed to that, an even higher level, and someone who's won a lot of stuff and played at the top level. I kind of wish I had more time like this where I could sit down and just pick his brains.
Yeah,
but you're obviously not. You don't have that luxury.
I'm not Gerrard, unfortunately. I'm a Liverpool fan, so I obviously grew up watching Steven Gerrard, but I also grew up watching Gary McAllister, because Gary McAllister played for Liverpool for 2 years, and he was unbelievable. He was like 36. He was unbelievable. But Gerrard talks a lot about how Rafa Benitez was like that. He never told you what he thought of you. He didn't put his arm around you, no praise or nothing. That's when he played his best football. So that's probably where that came from. Do you think that Rangers are now looking for a manager? Barry Ferguson's only at the end of the season. Do you think they should maybe look back at Gerrard? I don't think he needs the money, but do you think that maybe, or do you think it's a case that you should never go back and taint your...
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a director. I'm not like I'm not an owner of club. I don't make these decisions. But I think Rangers definitely need a leader. I think Barry Ferguson coming in has been brilliant for them, because he's got that presence about him, and he's got that real like calmness in big moments and under pressure. Obviously, for Rangers for so long, he was that leader. He was the one that everyone looked to. So I think he could be brilliant for Rangers. I think Rangers need that kind of esque manager that knows the level, knows Scotland, knows what it takes, because at big clubs it's not just about having a manager that's tactically really good and knows the game well. There's so much more. There's so much more pressure involved at being at Rangers. You're expected to win every year. If you don't beat Celtic, it's a disaster every year. And yeah, just to deal with the fans. There's so much pressure from the fans, and be able to deal with that well and help the players do that as well. So I don't know. If Gerrard came back, I think that would be brilliant. But I think Barry Ferguson also could be just as important for them.
Were you surprised? Because I've heard a lot of good things about Michael Beale, about how good a coach he is, about how sort of the finer details and articulate he is. Were you then surprised that it didn't work out for him when he went into the hot seat?
Yeah, I think from seeing him like firsthand, he was brilliant. This way he communicated to the players. I think he was in Brazil. He coached in Brazil, so the experience he'd had is amazing. But I think the reason why maybe Gerrard did so well was because he had Michael Beale and Gary McAllister who took a lot of training, who did a lot of other things, so he could focus on being a manager. So I think it's hard to... Never been a manager, so I don't know what it's like, but I suspect there's a lot more to it than just picking a team every week and shouting and bawling at players. So yeah, I think probably that aura, that personality that Gerrard had probably helped him a lot. And yeah, I think also football's just unfortunate. Luck of the draw sometimes. It's a bit unfortunate sometimes. Sometimes you might have a great manager, but he doesn't get the results, and it's a cutthroat business. Obviously, especially at Rangers, it's, you're not given the luxury of time. But yeah, I think he'll, if he moves into other jobs, that I think he'll continue to do well because of just the brain on him was brilliant. But yeah, so I wasn't sure why he didn't do too well.
What about your first taste of first team football came at Partick Thistle? You signed an extension at Rangers and then they sent you out on loan. What was that like? Sort of, because obviously playing for Rangers reserves is one thing. Playing for a team where winning and losing every single week matters because of it's the senior team. What was that experience like?
It was brilliant. I think for all young players, even talking to the boys at Glentoran, and just tell them if they're not playing, then get out on loan, because really once you get to the professional game, it doesn't really matter how well you've done in the academy or how many goals you scored or how many games you've played, because what teams look for is the games they played professionally and their performance in these games. So yeah, I was really fortunate to get out on loan quite quickly when I was 19. I know a lot of boys that were maybe 20, 21, 22, 23 before they got out and played first team football. So it was a right step for me, I think, from after being captain of reserves and playing for reserve for 3 years. I felt right next step. So yeah, it was Gary Caldwell at Partick Thistle, obviously another coach with a really good career, and he was brilliant for me. He was really encouraging, really got alongside me. Obviously it was close, Glasgow club, so it was close by, and it was great. It just really stretched me. I think going in fresh and you're a youth player and you got loads of exuberance and things, but I think you start to realise just the pressure of playing first team, of dealing with maybe difficult players that maybe don't want you to do well, and then losing games, and then we had change of managers, so you've got that experience of a manager coming in and maybe not liking you as much as the first one, and I think just in a change room environment, so just dealing with all that, dealing with different players, dealing with how to manage different players, and performing well, not performing well. So it was great. Like I don't think I was brilliant. I don't think I played the best football, but we got to play at Celtic Park. We played in the quarter-final of the Cup, which was probably the best game I've ever played in, and it was just great to be exposed to that level, playing against boys like Kel McGregor and Jeremy Frimpong and Scott Sinclair was great. Obviously we got battered, we got beat 5-0, but those are the games where you learn so much. Those are the games where you grow as a footballer. And so I had really good experiences there. It helped that I was close with Rangers still, so I could still keep in touch with all the coaches there and all the players. But I think that was really valuable for my career, and I think if I had maybe waited a few more years, I don't know if I would have, been given the opportunities I've had.
Well, it's just like now you've got Harry Murphy. He's gone out on, he was flying in the Glens first team, got a bad injury, missed basically a whole season, and now he's out at Glenavon and he is flying. And even Lorcan Donnelly, he's out on loan, he's doing really well. So it does make a difference for young players, rather than just training with the first team and sitting on a bench or playing reserve football. Go out and get your minutes.
Yeah, and all the boys that have been out have done really well, and even if they haven't done well, like if it's similar to my experience, they're gaining so much from it. They're maybe exposed to some of the things they maybe need to improve on or not as good at, where at academy level you get away with it. You get away with positioning being off, or you get away with being faster than everyone or stronger than everyone, or more, maybe more confident than everybody, or older. So it's been brilliant, and so the boys that have come back from loan, you've got Callan Farley as well, Lorcan, Casey Smith, and Murph, as they come in, you could just tell the difference when they come back and train with us. They're fitter, they're stronger, they're just more aware. So yeah, like for Murph, it's brilliant. Murph's not at the stage to be playing reserves and not be playing. He's too good for that, and also mentally he's too good for that. So I'm not surprised by how well he's done. I do believe he'll be a big player for Glentoran, and probably now is the perfect time to get more and more experience under his belt. So yeah, for any player, it's so valuable.
You swapped Glasgow for California, which is basically the same place.
Basically.
what was that like? We had a player played for Orange County, Dylan Powers. Did you play against Dylan? We played.
He was there just after I left. He signed. We probably like swapped.
Yeah, because we signed him, and his best game was at Windsor. Actually, we played with Linfield there in like a dead rubber at the end of the season, and the big pitch suited him. But in the other games when he was playing, you could just tell that he wasn't used to like Irish League football. You know, he wanted a lot of time in the ball. So you could see he had something about him, but it was wanted a lot of time. But what was that like, going out to play in Orange County?
It was brilliant. So Orange County had an affiliation with Rangers, so they were sending boys over there. So there was 3 of us that went over for Rangers. And yeah, I think it was proposed to us, and I think you can't really say no to that. I think football is a short career, and also football gives you opportunity to go to different places. So yeah, we were so excited. So we went there in the February time, end of February. It was obviously tough leaving family, leaving my girlfriend. Obviously maybe not being able to see each other as much. Obviously it's not as easy as just jumping over to Glasgow or to Belfast. So it was difficult in that sense, but I knew it would have been good for my career, also just for myself, just to live away from home, to be having to cook for myself, to kind of take a bit more responsibility, which I didn't really have much responsibility to take around the house and different things. So we went there 2 week end of February, and then 3 weeks later COVID hit. So it wasn't really how we had planned it. I think we played the very first league game, and then after that everything shut down. So a bit of a spanner in the works, but I think it was probably the best place to be stuck in COVID for. And I think also the restrictions were a bit lighter over there. So I was calling my girlfriend and family, and they were saying, "Oh, I've been out for an hour today, or I can't get out the house." They were like, "Oh, what have you been up to?" I was like, "Oh, I was at the beach today, and then we were playing football in the park and doing different." So it was so much better because we had so much more freedom, and then all the boys lived beside each other, so we were literally next door. So we were just seeing each other every day, and then we'd just do our own training with each other. So it actually wasn't too bad, and obviously it's nice weather every day, so it's probably nice to be sitting out there. So it was great, and then once the season got started again in July. Again, it was good because it was COVID. It was kind of frustrating because you didn't get to play all the teams in the league. You just had to play the teams round about you because you couldn't fly anywhere. So it would have been nice to have seen a bit more of America, but we still played Vegas and San Diego and Sacramento, which was good. It was hard. I remember the first game when we came over there was a friendly. I remember all 3 of us were had blisters over on our feet, like dying of exhaustion, and then you get all these there's Mexican players and other players that were just running rings around you at the start. So it was a big transition, and then playing in Vegas, which was maybe 35-40 degrees at night, and it was like a sauna. So it was good. It was a different level. The games were a lot slower. You can't go and press for 90 minutes over there like you could over here. Probably a lot more physical and things, but still really good quality players have played in the MLS, dropping down, and other Mexican players and other things like that. So there was always really good quality. So again, that was another good experience. I'm playing over there, and yeah, it's something I hold a lot of value to.
And you had another loan move when you came back to Scotland, and then Rangers obviously told you were being released. How did that conversation come about? Do you have a sort of anyone I've spoken to who's ever been released hasn't really been surprised that they're being released? Sort of know that it's coming. Was that the case for you, or were you? Well,
obviously coming back from America, I know I hadn't broken the first team when I was 20. And hadn't other boys had kind of given a lot more opportunities, so I knew that I wasn't really going to break in the first team. At that point Gerrard was in, and they brought in a lot of good quality players, Stephen Davis and Glenn Camara and Joe Aribo, so I knew it was probably a long shot for me to be playing with the first team, especially because I hadn't been regularly in squads or in and around training. So yeah, I just met up with one of the head of academy, and he was basically just saying, we're not going to offer you another contract. So it was probably it was the best thing for me, because I knew I wasn't going to break through, so there was no point in me playing reserves and wasting any more time. But it was obviously tough because I was there for 10 years and there's so many like staff and people that you've grown up with. But I think at that point in career, going on 2 different loans, I knew that I just wanted to play first team football, and hadn't really felt like I had started my career. I felt like, you know, you're going on loans and you're coming back hoping to play, but I felt like I needed a fresh start and to feel like I could properly get going. So yeah, like you said, you kind of had an idea it was coming, and it was probably the best thing for me.
So then the move to Linfield comes about. Obviously, Linfield have this link with Rangers, and that probably explains how that came about. You can tell me, how did you end up going from Rangers to Linfield? You'd probably never been in Northern Ireland before, had you?
Well, my dad's parents are from Belfast, and they lived in Newtonard, so we'd always go see them if we were in Glasgow or if we're in Canada. So I'd been in Northern Ireland a lot of times and always loved being over here. So when I'd spoken to Rangers, I'd said they're not going to offer me another contract. They'd said that they'd been speaking to different clubs in Northern Ireland. And then at the time, Linfield were the one that were right away really interested. So yeah, it was a bit of a no-brainer. They showed a lot of interest, and I kind of known a wee bit about them because my dad growing up here and just knowing a wee bit about Belfast. So yeah, it was the perfect opportunity for me after not being at Rangers and just needing a fresh start, and obviously playing at Windsor Park, playing in a good league, and something that I felt like my career needed. So it was great, and obviously knowing a bit about Belfast, it wasn't too much of a change. I knew a lot of family friends, and Dad had a lot of friends, so was able to connect quite easily coming over here through church and different things. Yeah, it was a bit of a no-brainer. It wasn't too lengthy. Once I knew they were interested, and it was a good a good change for my career. It was something I really wanted to do. I was quite excited about.
You settled in Linfield very quick. I can remember that Linfield fans really took to you very quickly. If you do search your name on Twitter, there's like Cammy Palmer Linfield Supporters Club, give Cammy a full-time deal. If you search your name now, though, there's not that many nice things said after that Irish Cup game. I don't know what you did in that Irish Cup game, but they weren't happy.
Okay,
but
fair enough. It wasn't generating happy.
Yeah, but they really took to you, so it was a really quick start for you, and that must have really helped for a young player to settle at a new club.
Yeah, I think, like I said, like knowing a lot. I knew actually Bobby Burns. He was at Glentoran at the time, and knew other people from church and different things, and so it was always really easy. I wasn't over here by myself. There was always people that were meeting up with me and texting me and chatting to me, which was great. And then I was quite fortunate. Obviously, you don't want players in your position to get injured, but Cal McLean and Stevie Fallon both got injured. I think one was suspended for one game and I came in, and then the next time one of the boys did his ACL, so I was the next midfielder, so I ended up just playing from there, and did really well, and just felt really comfortable. I went on and had a really good season. I got Young Player of the Year, and we won the league and the Irish Cup. So yeah, obviously again a bit of fortune with getting in the team, but I think I came in and established myself and felt really comfortable and felt like I was able to play the football, which I maybe struggled to play when I was in America and I was at Partick Thistle and I was at Clyde. I didn't feel like I'd played as well as I knew I could. So it was the first time which I felt like I was properly playing how I'd been trying to for the last while. And I think obviously having a fresh start really helped, and it was brilliant.
I remember that season, the Glens and the Blues were sort of going for the league against each other around January, February, March time, and Kyle McLean was brilliant for Linfield, and I remember he got injured, and as I say, you don't want a player to get injured, but I was like, that's a massive advantage to Glentoran. And then I remember you coming in and you hit the ground running, and I was like, I don't know how they managed that. Because at the Glens, the way it is, when we lose a player to injury, it's like the whole season falls apart.
Yeah.
And then you came in and just hit the ground running. I was like, that is really typical. But it was a good season for you personally, and a good season for Linfield, because you won a double, and at that stage, you know, I spoke to Elliot Morris in this podcast before. In his first season, he won every trophy going except for the Irish Cup, and he thought, well, this is easy. You know, this is you know what I mean. The guy, he came from West Brom and he thought this is a gift.
Yeah.
So you must have came from Rangers, surely won the double and thought, well, this is it now.
Yeah, I think it's probably the same as Elliot, where I was like, oh, like, this level's easy for me, like, I'm gonna just push on to the next level, like, or like at Linfield, we're just gonna win every single year, we're gonna win everything, we're gonna win league and cup all the time, I'm gonna play every game for the season. So yeah, I shared that. Probably a wee bit naive, or very naive. So yeah, I ended up after that, obviously playing in Europe, which was in Champions League qualifiers, was brilliant. We played that. That was the second season I was there, and then after that, just had injury after injury. I did my knee in January time, and was out for the rest of that next season. So it was literally one extreme to the other, and ended up playing, I think, 10 games the next season. So it definitely wasn't easy, and it wasn't a stroll in the park. So yeah, it just but football keeps you humble, and it definitely humbled me.
That European game, obviously the playoff, that was probably one of the most mad games I've ever watched. And I mean, I've seen some, like, the Glens were involved in a mad European game, but that game there, like, Linfield were minutes from going through to the group stage, and then I think you didn't take it into the corner, isn't that right?
No, I tried to shoot, and
that was you, yeah. You shot, yeah, and then Jimmy Gallagher scored the OG.
Yeah,
that was you couldn't write it, like, that was. But what was that changing him, like, when that happened, you know, after that game?
Obviously, like, for the 2 years I was there, so this was in the third year, I'd kind of get back fit after having surgery, and we had an amazing run, because if you win the first Champions League game,
just drop down,
then it makes it, because then you go in the second Champions League round, and then it's an easier run, whereas if you lose Champions League, you go straight into the Conference League, or it was Europa League back then. So you just gave yourself a big chance, and when we scored last minute against TNS and then beat them in extra time, and I think after that all we had to do was win one more round. So I think everybody was believing that we were going to get in, because they changed it to Conference League at that point, so there was an extra tournament. And then we played Bodo Glimt, who obviously got to the Europa League semi-final the year before and beat them in the first leg, and then they battered us 7-0 in the second leg. And then we played Zurich, we got beat off them, and then the last one, which was one everyone was targeting, was the RFS one, and we were up 2-0 in the first game, and then I came on, and then they'd scored 2 goals like within the last 5 minutes to equalise against us, and then the return leg, which we dominated them and then scored in extra time. Everyone was thinking, alright, this is us, and we were quite comfortable throughout the whole game. They didn't really put us under much pressure, and then obviously they were leaving loads of space, attacking people forward, and then I got not put through on goals. It was like a 3v2, a 3v1.
There's a lot of space in front of you, wasn't there?
There's loads. And some people today have been like, oh, why don't you take it into corner? But
that's what all the blue men say. That's for the corner, because that's why I popped into my head, because they're always like, if you had taken that into the corner, but
yeah, but I'm like, you're right in front of goal. You're not gonna just fake it and start sprinting towards. So yeah, and I also remember missing the chance. Just hit it straight at the keeper, and then they broke from my miss. Hit it long, went over our right backside, they crossed it in, and then Jimmy scored an own goal, and that's one of the lowest I've ever felt in my career. That moment, because it kind of hit the crossbar, then it came and went past the line and bounced back out, and I was like, please hope they didn't see that. And then he gave the goal, and I just remember thinking, like, the whole stadium's looking at me right now, like judging me, like furious at me for missing that. And then it went straight into penalties, and I remember not taking a penalty because I was just...
Your head was gone.
Head was gone, and I was just so, like, conscious. I was just so worried that I've letting everyone down again. And I remember after losing that, I just remember being in tears. And and just feeling like feeling like everything was my fault. I think Jimmy Gallagher was the same. He was the one, obviously, that scored the goal, and he was like, "You could have been worse. You could have gave them the goal for them to go through." So yeah, I just remember the days afterwards were really, really tough. I think for me, like, that playing in a European competition was one of my goals and one of my dreams. And to be in a position where you probably should have scored, or wasted a bit more time to go through and you didn't. So there's a lot of regret, a lot of like replaying it. I tried not to watch it too much because it was it was tough. But then also after I was glad that I went through that. You'd rather be on the pitch and make those errors, those mistakes, be part of it than watching on. So yeah, it was really, really tough. It probably took the whole Linfield team. We didn't win the league that year, and it probably
lost the next game to Carrick, which is remember that, it was that's unfathomable at the time.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just like, I think everybody was just put so much into all the 4 European games, and was really expecting to go through, and you didn't. So yeah, that really shell shocked everybody. But there's a lot of good leaders, a lot of good people in Linfield, and kind of regrouped. But in the end, didn't quite win it. But yeah, it's always something whenever I talk about it, still there's that wee bit of that feeling in your stomach. But yeah, these things are good to experience, and you always learn something from it, don't you?
I mean, that's football. You look at so many players have those. Paddy McLean scored an OG in an Irish Cup semi-final against Cliftonville, a freak OG, like Jimmy, a freak OG. But thankfully, the Glens went on and won. Or I know that Johnny was absolutely devastated after Johnny Russell after the cup final. These things happen in football, but they make you, as I say, a better player, because if you have that low point, then your aim is to never feel that low again. You don't feel that low again. But that season obviously was a season probably of lows for you, because you suffered an awful lot of injuries that then went on to plague you for the rest of your time at Linfield.
Yeah.
Was it a continuous sort of niggle, or was it a spate of different injuries?
So obviously the first one was my knee, and then was my left knee, and then the other one, that season where we'd I think Lauren won the league, I was back fit, but I also hadn't really been playing much because I'd missed the season before. Yeah, I didn't actually have that many injuries. The last season I was there, it was probably towards the end I started picking up wee things. But I think just not guys having a great European run, and then the manager David Healy sticking with those guys, and then also maybe not playing my best, kind of still maybe a bit recovering from a bit low in confidence, I think, from not playing as much, and then the European game. I wasn't probably playing at the level I know I could have, and probably didn't really deserve to be playing every game. And then we'd brought in Chris Shields, we brought in other players, so the competition just got even better. So it was, and then this season I did my other knee. So I'd kind of done it all, but also after we'd played the first season, because it was later because of COVID. We finished, I think it was the end of May, and then we were in Europe 2 weeks later. So I don't know if like playing basically back-to-back seasons hampered it, and then also just the luck of the draw with injuries. I think some boys don't do anything, don't look after themselves that well, or don't put so much time into rehab or prehab, and are injury free. And there's some people that like I'd like to say I would try to do everything I can. You get loads of injuries, so yeah, a bit of a luck of the draw, and also just the amount of games. But I probably didn't play as many as I wanted to play, which was frustrating.
Well, there was a talk in sort of January 2023 that you were approached by David Healy or Linfield, don't know who approached who, about signing a new contract, and that wasn't really something that you were interested in. Was it just because you weren't playing a lot of games, or what was the reason that you wanted to move on?
Well, I think it was at that January time, and I kind of knew a couple clubs were interested in me, and I hadn't really played much that season, and like any footballer, they just want to play games. They don't really want to be sitting on the bench, and I felt like I had my injuries behind me, and I didn't really want to waste any time, especially being out a couple times with injuries. It's a short career, like I said before, and you can't really be waiting around. So yeah, I didn't really feel like I wanted to extend my contract if I wasn't going to be playing as much as I wanted to. And yeah, and end of the season, kind of towards April time, started speaking to Glentoran. Obviously Rod was the manager at the time, and speaking to Windy. And yeah, I was ready for, again, another challenge, a different environment, and also Glentoran was really local to me as well. So it was the perfect fit.
And at Glentoran, there was someone that you knew very well, Bobby Burns. And there's an interesting story Bobby told me that about how you, because I think you knew, or your family knew Bobby's family or something like that before you came over, but how did you, there is a story around Christmas time about how you became close.
Yeah, well, I kind of knew Bobby before because we played under 21s together.
Yeah.
And then kind of kept up, and then obviously around Christmas time was a difficult time. My girlfriend was over at the time, and for us was difficult around Christmas because all your families are together, all your friends are together, and because of the Boxing Day game you can't go home. So we'd been round to Bobby's a few times just to meet his family, and he's had us round for dinner, and then they invited us round for Christmas Day, which was brilliant. We were obviously playing them the next day, so it was just making sure there was nothing in the food or in the drinks trying to poison me or something. But yeah, it was just brilliant. Like, Bobby's family's brilliant, and you can see that in Bobby, what his mum and dad are like. So we had a great time with him. It was nice with all his brothers and uncles and stuff. And it was just a nice gesture, because for us it would have been a quiet, and probably would have seen all the photos from family coming in and probably feeling like we're missing out a lot. So it was class, and I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad the rivalry didn't get in the way of it.
And you repaid the favour to your teammates this year. You took a leaf out of Bobby's book, of course, and you had the overseas players round to your house for dinner. What was that like? Would you do it again?
Oh, I'm not sure. Yeah, well, now me and my wife bought a house in East Belfast, so yeah, I think we're just trying to have the boys round as much as possible. Like, be coming over here on this trip by myself, and then with my girlfriend. You miss family. It's difficult to settle in. I was really fortunate to have so many people to reach out to me and to make me feel welcome, so I knew the value of that, and also that helped on the pitch. So I know, so just doing that for the guys, I wanted them to feel welcome and feel settled. And I think not just me, I know all the boys in the team have been really good at just making people feel settled, and even doing things outside of football, which I think is sometimes the most important, because some guys don't have their families or friends to go home to. They're just going home to their room, or they're going home just to sit with another boy in the team. Yeah, so the time outside is precious, and is a good time to get to know people and make connections. So yeah, I knew a lot of the boys would have been by themselves, and obviously like Bobby and reaching out and making made such a massive difference. So there was 5 of us, 5 of us. And then including me and my wife, and it was brilliant. It was a bit of a mix-up. We didn't actually have that much space in the kitchen, so people were squashed up against the counters and the doors. But it was great. It was like a one big mashed-up family. But it was brilliant. We had a great laugh. The piano got brought down, and we were doing a few sing-alongs.
Who plays piano?
Was
right. Okay.
He's never said anything about it, but then I got my wife a piano for Christmas, and he just started playing something mad, and then my wife plays, so then it got to a point where people were just shouting different songs. Dan Amos and Millsy shouting out Snow Patrol songs, and then Finn and David shouting out some I won't mention some of their songs.
Oh yeah,
they got some terrible taste in music. But we had to make sure everybody was happy. And then we got a few games and stuff. Obviously got a bit competitive. Some people nearly falling out and things. But it was brilliant. And yeah, it was just a great opportunity just to have people. And I think the manager was loving that, because he's all about togetherness and everyone being together. So yeah, it was great.
Your Christian faith, it obviously means a lot to you. Your dad is a pastor, and football is probably an environment that, growing up as a Christian and then playing in football, is not something that you associate footballers with. Does that as a testament at all? Sort of, I suppose people have this reputation of footballers. I think they don't really associate with a Christian.
Yeah, I think throughout my whole life I've always been, growing up in church, being a Christian, it's been difficult because there's not many other Christians, or there's maybe people that would have grown up in church or grown up in a Christian family but probably wouldn't go to church or wouldn't actually say that they would have a faith or a practice in faith. So yeah, it's always been difficult, and also sometimes it's hard to fit in because everybody's doing different things. Everybody's partying, drinking. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but people have got different lives. People aren't maybe interested in about Christianity and those things. So yeah, and being a shy guy, it was always quite difficult because you're just worried about fitting in. You don't want people to not respect you or not like you. But I think over time and maturing a bit more, I think people respect you more for being yourself and being true to who you are, and just being open about what you do at the weekend, or what you about your faith, and just the experiences you have with that. So it still is tough because I wanna share with boys. I wanna share my faith, but also don't want to be respectful of people's own beliefs, and also don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. But I think being able to more open up, been able to be has been great, and people have respected me more for being more open, which is good.
I watched your testimony, and I seen that at Linfield, and I heard you say that you ran an alpha course for Linfield players when you first came over. Was that did they request that, or did you suggest that, or what way did that work?
Well, it was from myself. I think as a Christian, I want other people to hear about God and about Jesus and the relationship that people can have with Him, and of how that can change people's lives. So I don't really want to keep that to myself. I want other people to have that experience. And there's so many, from being in change rooms, there's so many boys with questions, and so many people that have maybe dabbled with Christianity but are just desperate to find out more, and Alpha's perfect for that. And also just, I think people have a lot of different views of Christianity, and that they think there's a lot of pressure and you have to do this, and that everybody's judging you if you don't do certain things. But I think just giving people a real experience of Christianity, of just the freeing relationship of with Jesus, and how that can impact their life, is great. And Alpha just dissects it really easily, and it's just a conversation, and you have some food, and we're doing it at Linfield. It was great because I think I had a lot of conversations with guys, and I think guys were just longing for an opportunity just to go deeper. So it was great. We did that. There was only a few boys that probably came consistently. Obviously you have an expectation or in your head of everyone coming, but people need to come in their own accord and with their own hearts. And it was great. It just gave guys a real great opportunity. We actually went to Town Square, so we got Alpha funded that, and we had some good food, and it was really, really good. And then we did it a year after with sports people, but we just opened it up to all people doing sports. We did that at near Stranmillis, and again that was great, just to have food and just have open conversation and just give people the chance to ask whatever questions they want, if it's silly questions, if it's just frustrations they have with church, with maybe experiences they've grown up with, if they've been in a real traditional strict environment of faith, and maybe that's what they think that it's like for everyone. They've been able to open their eyes to that's not what church is for everyone, and that's not what faith is. It's not a restricting thing. It's a freeing thing. So yeah, it's something I'd love to do at Glentoran. I think it probably need a bit of courage just to start it. because it's always a bit of a scary thing because you don't want to open it up to people and then nobody turns up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think not just Alpha Course, but just being able to share my faith is something I'm really passionate about, and just give people the opportunity to know more about the Bible, about Jesus, about just like the honest relation, like an honest faith, like what that actually looks like, and just be able to come and ask questions. So, yeah.
And everyone has their faith tested, and I'm sure you've had your faith tested. You've been through the mill with injuries and ups and downs, football, that European game and things. Has it ever came to a point where you're like, people would probably look at you and think, son of a pastor, grew up in a Christian family, you're the fine example of Christianity, but I'm sure that it has tested you at times.
Yeah, of course. Just like anyone, there's difficulties with growing up in school and just that fear of fitting in, and I guess sometimes like putting your faith to the side so that you can fit in with people. I think injuries have been very difficult. I think that's really tested my faith. And yeah, just I think just the general ups and downs. I've been fortunate enough to have not been through anything really difficult. I think injuries have been tough. The toughest thing for me, I think. Also, I went through a really difficult time through injury. I think for myself, growing up in a church and just going along every Sunday, I think my faith just became a bit that's just what you do. It just became a bit routine, and yeah, I think coming over to Belfast has been good because I had to go to church for the first time by myself. So I actually realised, okay, maybe it's not as easy just to go to church. It's not as easy for people to go somewhere where they don't know people. So that was really good, and also made me question my faith, made me question, okay, why do I actually believe? Am I just doing this because I've always done this, because it's just something you do, or do I genuinely want this in my life? Do I genuinely want a relationship with God and want to live my life for Him, not just turn up on a Sunday or tick a few boxes, but actually live my life for Him. And went through a really, really difficult time of injury, and probably the lowest I've ever felt in my life, and just feeling really anxious, really stressed, not finding any joy in anything, and yeah, really struggling. It was really tough, but in like these situations, people don't really understand how you're struggling, how much you're struggling. My wife would probably say how excited or buzzing she is that we're not going through that, because that was a really tough time for her, because she was giving so much to me, so much time to me, so much effort to me, and I was just not in a place where I could be excited about things, where I don't think I laughed for a while. So just things like that, where every day just feels very heavy, and just social things become even more difficult because you don't really want to be around people. But then you don't want to be by yourself. So yeah, my wife, she was very selfless through that time, and gave a lot of time and didn't receive a lot back. And she was probably the only one that really saw what it was like day to day, coming home from training, asking how my day was, and it constantly being like, oh, it was not great, or I didn't train well, or like the boys don't maybe like me, or just like different things like that. And yeah, I think in my faith, it was, although how tough it was, I think in our faith, God allows us to go through difficult moments. He doesn't allow us to go through moments that we can't handle. And I believe He allowed me to go through that to recognise that maybe my faith was just something I just did. I didn't maybe question things, or maybe it wasn't really from my heart. And also, I think for my whole life, because I've been such a shy person, I've always just accepted things, or never really challenged anything, or just tried to fit in with things, instead of actually standing up and saying what I believe, and being myself, and not being super confident in myself. And I think it probably hit the head going through that time, and just allowed me to. I went to counselling and stuff, which was brilliant, and just to talk, and just to figure out where I was at, and that was massive for me. I think that's something that's so important for anyone struggling. And yeah, I think a lot of times I did wonder, where is God? God, I'm struggling here. like just get me through it or just fix everything. But I think like every loving father, every loving friend, sometimes a bit of sometimes silence, sometimes taking a step back and allowing someone to figure something out is the best thing for them instead of just fixing it. So although it felt like a lot of silence, but there wasn't absence, I feel God just was there with me, but just required me to ask myself things to start. I started to journal a lot more, which really helped me. Because I'm quite a overthinker and things. It was really good for me just to write down my thoughts, write down my prayers, and just be honest with myself and honest with other people, which I think has been really good. That was probably the toughest moment in my life and probably toughest time in my faith, but it's probably the moment in which my faith has grown the most, and I look back on it and I'm so glad I went through it, although I wasn't glad when I was going through it. And it's really helped me with other people that are going through similar situations, just to be even more sensitive and encouraging with them.
So you joined Glentoran then. Why Glentoran? If there's other teams interested in you at the time, but was there any hesitation in crossing that big 2 divide? You probably seen firsthand that, like, for example, Connor Pepper would have got at Linfield.
Yeah. No, there wasn't, because I wanted to play football, and I didn't feel like my career was progressing, and I still wanted to play for a big club, and I felt Glentoran were just as big a club as Linfield, and I wanted to be in somewhere where there was an expectation to win. There was pressure from the fans, there was big crowds, there was great players, so it was really a no-brainer, and after speaking to Glentoran many times, I knew that was where I wanted to be. I've always from being at Rangers, I've always wanted to be at clubs. I'd always want to be in environments where there's expectation to win, because I feel that drives you on, and also being in good change rooms with quality players drives you on and drives the team on. It was a no-brainer, and I wanted a new challenge, and Glentoran were the perfect opportunity.
When you came in then, there was obviously a new manager in place, because Warren Feeney had taken over, and it probably wasn't the first season that you'd hope for. There was injuries in there, there was the Glens form was ridiculously inconsistent. It was the highest goal scoring season in 17 years for the Glens, but at the other end of the pitch there was leaking so many goals. You came into the team with, I don't know how much of a pre-season you actually would have had. I don't know if you did you have a full pre-season, or?
Well, I got injured at the end of the time at Linfield, and then had to get an injection on my knee, so I wasn't fully fit coming in, and kind of had to catch up, and other boys had played loads of pre-season games by the time I was fit. So by the time I played the first league game, I think I played 45 minutes. I had a shocker. I took off at half time, but I was fitness wise, I was miles off it.
Cliftonville?
Glenavon.
Oh, Glenavon away?
Yeah.
Glenavon away, yeah.
I got subbed a few times at half time in that season.
I didn't think you were that bad against Glenavon. That didn't stick in my mind. The Cliftonville one did, because you get taken off and then weren't seen again for about a month.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. So, I remember coming in and not feeling super fit. But probably over time started to be able to play my best, and was going really well. Maybe had a few. That Cliftonville game that was one of the worst games I've played. And then I think we played. I think it was before we played Cliftonville. It was when we played Linfield, and we beat them at home. We beat them 3-4. 4-0. Jeez, not bad. And I remember after that, I was suspended, I think. But I remember just doing some running because I was suspended, and just felt just in straight lines. I felt my knee jar. Obviously not had much throughout the season. Obviously had the injection at the start of the season, and after that just got a scan and said I had a tear in my meniscus in my other knee. So that wasn't great, because I felt like I was really starting to come on to my game and play a lot better, and play how I wanted to play, like I had at the start of Linfield. and just also a bit of embarrassment because you'd come back, you'd been injured a few times and maybe had that bit of a reputation and kind of wanted to put that behind you, and then kind of falling back into that and not being able to help the team. And obviously we were kind of struggling for a bit of form, so you weren't able to help the team in that way. So yeah, again, another frustrating time, but after going through the injury with Linfield, I was better prepared mentally to deal with the injury and deal with not playing and just doing a lot of gym work and a lot of waiting and a lot of frustration. Yeah, it didn't start how I planned.
Well, the season was a strange one in that, like I say, we scored a lot of goals, we conceded a lot of goals. The performances were, you beat, like, I'm pretty sure we beat nearly 8-0 or something stupid at the Oval, and then the next week you go and get beat or draw, and it was very frustrating. And obviously then Warren Feeney lost his job. Then Declan Devine comes in. What was that change like for you?
I was still coming back from injury, but since Decky's come in, he's been brilliant. He's just, we were kind of talking about Gerrard and Ferguson. He does have that presence about him that when he walks in a room, everybody shuts up, doesn't say anything, which is great. And he's also got that personal side where you can talk to him, and he's very understanding of just family situations and if boys need a bit of time off with their families, and obviously a lot of boys over from England and things, and just being respectful and aware of that. He's brilliant at that, but he's a real encouragement, real motivator, real strong character, which I think was important for the boys coming in. And I think just right away the boys took to him and really respected him, and because of his character, but because of how he conducted himself. And obviously the end of the season we were in the situation we were. There was a few boys that knew they were leaving, a few boys that weren't sure, and we were just a bit of a mismatch. So I actually came back towards the end of the season but wasn't totally fit. But yeah, it was really good, and I think looking forward to the next year. I think everybody was really excited to see how things were going to go, and having a full pre-season under his belt will put him in good stead, and the team in good stead.
Declan said, he's on record of saying that the dressing room that he inherited was absolutely broken. And I sort of assumed by that he meant that there was players who were just disillusioned, there was players who knew they were leaving that weren't getting new contracts, who weren't wanting to sign a new contract. What was it like being a part of that? Obviously you were injured, but you're still part of it. What was it like at the time?
Yeah, I think coming to the changing room, you could tell there was a bit of unrest. Some boys obviously knew they were leaving, and also, like, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like sour or that boys weren't trying or different things, but when people know that they're leaving and people are aware that it does unsettle everyone. And there was obviously a lot of boys, I don't know how many, like 10, 11 boys, maybe more, that left.
18.
Wow, okay, so even more. So yeah, that's always going to unsettle a squad where people are maybe aren't sure our guys' heads totally there, and yeah, so there was just loads of different things going on, and it was always a really welcoming and good dressing room. But any club you're at, and where there's so many people that are on their way out, is never you're never in unison. Yeah, it was important to for the boys to leave that their hearts weren't there, and to bring in boys that were really motivated and start to build a real together team. And been good at just making sure that boys that have been doing really well this year have got contracts and are sorted for next year to avoid that again. He's brought real stability, Decky, and which the club needed just to get themselves back on their feet. And this season's not been perfect, but it's been a really good step in the right direction.
Paddy McCourt's another coach who came in. I've heard a lot of good things about Paddy McCourt, but he doesn't say much. You don't really hear him shouting from the bench. That's not him. You hear Tim and Declan.
Don't take that mantle.
Yeah, Declan. Sometimes I'll just sit in the main stand and I'll just watch Declan, and it is just entertainment. I mean,
we're just heart in his sleeve.
I know, definitely, and I know one of the fourth officials. I would normally go to my church and I would speak to him, and I would say to him, I was like, what's it like? And he goes, you know what you're getting with him. He's the nicest guy, and but he's always just in your ear all the time. But I like that. But Paddy's not that. No. Paddy, the only time I've heard Paddy shout was a game against Bangor. And that's how bad that was. That game, he was like, he's
right, okay,
yeah, he was going
Screw
mad.
This.
But what's he like as coach on the pitch? Because he's one of the best players I've ever seen playing these shores.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got it, although he's lost a lot of fitness and a bit of change of pace. Whenever he joins in training, he's technically one of the best players. Yeah, he's good, but he brings real experience. He probably just in terms of a creative side he's really good for the attackers, because he obviously sees the game differently to Decky and to Tim, and just notices things that maybe Decky doesn't notice, and it's good. A lot of times before we go out, Paddy will speak, but he's got that whenever Paddy speaks, he everybody listens, because he doesn't shout and bawl too much, and also whatever he says, he always says it's to the point. So he's good because when he speaks to the point, and he's always really motivating, because he says exactly what everybody's thinking, and he says the right things, and he's just really good to chat with, because even just to chat about the game, what we saw, what he saw, and he's always really encouraging. So the boys give him a bit of stick that he's got a bit of a belly now, and he's not quite. They said the dairy belly instead of the dairy belly, but I don't think he'd be too happy for me saying that. But Paddy's been brilliant, and he's just a real good person to have with his experience, and he's just a real encouraging coach to be there.
Have you ever watched the show reel? His goals?
I think we showed it one time at lunch. Just all his goals where he'd taken on about 20 players.
Unbelievable.
So it's even, he can still dribble past players at a walking pace when we train. So some boys try to press him, and he gives a wee shimmy and he goes the other way. So we still got it. So I don't doubt that when he was in his prime, he was something different.
He was phenomenal, and you know what? I look behind the curtain. Chairman Colin Jess, he says sometimes when he's feeling a bit down, he'll stick on certain YouTube videos. One of them is Conor McMenamin versus Lauren when we beat them 4-0, and he was just absolutely phenomenal. And one of the other ones is Paddy McCourt, and this is even before he joined the Glens, and his goals, because even for Northern Ireland, he scored some absolute screamers.
He scored one against San Marino where
Faroe Islands, and it was just an absolute. He scored 2 in the one game, and it was an absolute belter. He just had it all, and he was another player who's plagued with injuries, bad luck with injuries, and I don't think he had the best natural fitness levels. I think he said that himself. He said that he was just a player who struggled to get fit, but he played for some great teams, and he was just someone that I hated. He played for Derry City with a cross-border competition, and I hated coming up against him, because he was just knew you were getting
roasted
every time. No one at this level could ever cope with him. So it wasn't surprised when he got us moved to Celtic. But I was surprised when we had a night here. And he's a great storyteller, because he does after dinner speaking and stuff. But he's quiet, and I was surprised at how quiet he is, because everyone thought he was a bit mad, but no, he's quiet enough.
And I think that those are the kind of people I lean towards, because that's who I am as well. So I really get on well with him, and he's someone when he speaks, but when he speaks with real conviction and clarity, which is good.
He signed a new contract earlier in the season, so you must be still loving life at Glentoran, and must be looking forward to it, because this season it isn't perfect, but it is massively different. And people talk about points totals, because they're looking at our points total this season, points total last season. Linfield have the same points as last season, but do you think they'll care, because they've got the league title? You know what I mean? It's not comparable, because the whole scope of the league's changed, but you can just tell that the Glens have a lot more quality in the team, and the team are just have that certain way of playing, and you know what you're probably going to get most weeks.
I think seeing the direction that the club's going in is great, and that's a big reason why I signed. And also just having a good relationship with Decky and Paddy and Tim also made it a lot more easier. And just the standards have improved massively off the pitch, just with the food, with even just the ground, and just loads of small things have been great. And then on the pitch, we've been a lot more together, and obviously off the pitch a lot more together, which has been good. We've had different things with the families, with the players to bond and to connect with each other. We had a golf day at the start of the season, which was brilliant, and just those wee things make such a difference, and that's something that's Dickie's big for. So yeah, I think we're all under no illusions that like there's still more to come from the club and from everyone every player. Second and County Antrim is good, but we want to be winning leagues. We want to be challenging for leagues. We want to be, winning more leagues and cups and being like this year, being in finals, competing in finals, winning finals, because that's where the club's at. So we know there's a lot to go, and obviously this year if we can finish strong and get second year in Europe, and those are the kind of things you remember as a player. Those are the ones you look back on your career and you remember those big games playing against European players, and that's where the club needs to be. The Oval needs to have European games, and also I think it's been good at this year, just focusing on ourselves. I think maybe times in the past Glentoran have been worried about what other people are doing or trying to control other things that are outside their control, whereas this year we've just tried to improve as a team and continue to improve, and not really worry about outside noise. So we don't look at points totals, we don't look at where we should be, where we're not, where we are, whether we deserve to be there, whether we probably should be doing better. But yeah, I think for where the club's at, it's a good spot, and there's a place, and it's a lot to build on. So hopefully we can keep bringing more quality in, because I know being in this position, being in Europe, that'll attract more players and just keep pushing each other on. But yeah, I've loved every minute. Glentoran's been the best club I've been at in terms of a change room. It's the best change room I've ever been part of, and there's not anybody that I find difficult to be around or hard to speak to, or there's not anyone that I wouldn't go and meet for a coffee or spend time with outside football. And yeah, it's good, and there's a lot of players that have brought that together, and Moko's obviously a real leader for the club, and he's someone he bonds everybody well together and connects well with everybody well, which I think is a massive thing as a captain, to be able to connect with everybody on the team and bring everyone together. And Fuds is obviously the loudest in the change room, and he's good in that sense, and everybody has a role to play, which I think is something that good clubs do. That everybody has a role to play, everybody does their bit, and if you can do that, you pushing yourselves in the right direction. So yeah, Decky's been fantastic, and long may that continue.
Getting the County Antrim Shield in the bag was important. Sort of gets that monkey off your back. I remember when Jurgen Klopp was managing Liverpool, he kept losing finals, and everyone was sort of using it as a stick to beat him with. And it's not the most important competition in the world, but I probably was a bit of a snob to the County Antrim Shield, because when I was growing up, the Glens won those trophies every year. We won the Shield, the Gold Cup, the League Cup, and the League. Every other year we were winning sort of leagues and Irish Cups, but the minor competitions we won all the time. That hasn't been the case over the last 10 to 15 years, and it just sort of gave people a taste of where this club can go. And I know Decky came out and said it in her press, like, we're only getting started. He didn't mean we're going to go clean up and everything. He meant that this is just the beginning, as in we need to build on this.
Yeah.
But it was important just for those new guys to see this is what we can do. Look at this fat crowd. Let's go and do more. Yeah,
100%. And yeah, you need to start somewhere. I think also gave us more belief that throughout this whole year we know we can beat anybody in this league. And we've shown that. So it's given the club just real encouragement, real insight into where we want to go as a club. And yeah, I think all the boys aren't happy just with the County Antrim Shield. All the boys want even more, and I think all the boys that whenever we won it were like, this is brilliant. We want to be in more finals. We want to be in more of these moments, because that's what you remember in your career. So yeah, it was very important for us, and obviously the League Cup was really disappointing, and something that we were all brilliant. It was brilliant to get there, but you don't really
remember the finals,
and people don't remember the losers of finals, so we don't want to be on the losing side. But there's so much to come, and yeah, we just want to keep building on this year.
the next 3 games are, we're in a really good run, 16 games unbeaten, and then we had that bad run, and I've seen encouraging signs the last 2 games. We lost to Linfield last weekend, but I thought we matched them, to be honest with you. 2 defensive mistakes from us, 1 defensive mistake from them, as they will be disappointed with the goal that they conceded. They didn't make another, and that's sort of where it comes down to. So going into these last 3 games, we know that we can win all 3. Probably don't need to win all 3, but that is obviously going to be the aim. It's huge, isn't it? And it sort of has that cup final feel about it, where we need big crowds, and we need people coming down and getting behind the team, and the time for reflection is after the season's over, effectively. So it's just time to focus on the job ahead.
Yeah, I think this is where we wanted to target for challenging for the league, and throughout the season, second became obviously Linfield were far ahead. So second is something we really wanted to establish, and we were probably a bit frustrated that we're not more comfortably in second, but also going on a 16 game run. We probably wouldn't have been in this position right now. So there's loads of ifs and buts and things, but at the moment we're in second, we're a point ahead of Lauren, and it's in our hands. I think if we said at the start of the season we'd be in this position, we would have taken that. And I think we feel we deserve to have second. We probably would want to be a bit more comfortable. We could have been more comfortable, but we're not. But we're still 1 point ahead, and it's in our hands. So we know that no game is easy in this league, and obviously having 3 away games to finish is going to be very difficult. We're looking forward to the challenge, and everybody's just desperate to do the job, and we all want to be playing European football. I think getting a taste of it a couple of years ago was brilliant, and then last season was difficult, and we just know how difficult the playoffs can be, and how there's so many good teams that will be in the playoffs. So we don't want to be in that. We want to be second. We want to establish that, and I think that will be a great end of the season and fit in for how we've played and how we've done. So it's exciting for me. Obviously frustrating I can't play a big part in that, but there's loads of boys coming back, and I know that of the quality in the group, and I know we're really just pushing together, and really just need the fans to continue to back us, because it's massive, these games and their support, and that's what's got us through. When we were playing at Crusaders last time we played at Seaview in the league, and kind of being 1-0 down and really getting the crowd staying with us, and that really benefited us, and ended up scoring 3 goals and win the game comfortably in the end. So we're really excited, and hopefully we can do the job.
It's a big thing this season that the crowd really have stayed with the team. There hasn't been too many games where the team's going in at half time to booze, or they're getting on their back. It's just there's something there. I think that mentality probably comes from the manager, and the way he speaks in the interviews and in the press, and he tries to encourage everyone. I think that comes from there. But Glentoran are a hard bunch to win round, but it seems to be going well.
Yeah, and that's what you want. At big clubs, there's high expectations. I think the times we have been booed has been deserved, but we've not really. The club have really pushed us on, and some games have really been the difference in us winning games or drawing games. And Decky's the kind of guy that everybody follows behind because of the leader he is and the personality he is. So us as players push ourselves. He pushes us on, and we want to do the job for him as well, because we know how much he gives to the club and to us. The fans have been brilliant this year, and when the Glentoran fans show up in their numbers, they're the best fans in the league by far. Just even looking at the cup finals that we've been in, they've been amazing. We want to give them something back.
You must be delighted with your season to date. I mean, I know you're injured now. You might make another appearance before the season's out. You might not. But 33 games you've played this season. I was looking at appearances for the rest of the team. No one bar Sule hits over 40. So you're looking around sort of 36, 37, 38 games. So you're not far off playing on a full season, which you must be delighted with that.
Yeah, I think in football you get caught up in the games and winning games, losing games, your own performance and what's going on around you, but kind of having time off, being injured, gives you time to reflect. And I think for me this is the first season in 4 where I've been fully fit. I've had slight knocks, and this is a bit of a knock, but yeah, it's something I can really be proud of, and I'm really grateful for, because if you're not fit, then you don't get to play games, you don't get to improve, and I think in games you're sometimes get a bit caught up in it, but when you're injured you realise how fortunate you are to be playing football, to be training every day, and just the joy of that. So I think when you ask any injured boy what it's like, they'll stay the same. So yeah, hopefully I can continue that on and carry that on for the rest of my career, because I'm kind of a bit sick of being injured.
Well, you now looking to the future. You've revealed that you've bought a house here in East Belfast. You're obviously well settled. You're enjoying life at Glentoran. Is it a case of staying at Glentoran, trying to win as many trophies and medals as possible in your time here, or what's your aspirations for the future? You're still only 20. You're only 25 yet, are you? Or
No, 24.
24. You're 25 next month.
Yes.
I have to think about that. Yeah. So 25 next month. So that's, because players, I think sometimes people think players are older than they are sometimes, because they're footballers. So you still got a long time ahead of you in your career. You can be playing for another 10 years or more. So
yeah, a long time, but a short time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I wanna be here as long as I can, and for this club to win as many trophies as possible. I think also for me and my wife, we need to continue to do what's best for us, and where we feel we need to be. But at this moment, Glentoran is where we want to be, and East Belfast is where we both want to be, and we feel really settled here. So yeah, looking forward to the future.
Cammy, you've been a super guest on Shout at Yeovil. I've really enjoyed looking back in your career. Fascinating conversations about Rangers and about time at Linfield and even at Glentoran, absolutely everything. So thanks very much for coming on. Looking forward to seeing what you can do in a Glentoran shirt. You've promised me goal.
Yes, I have. Promised a lot of people goals.
Because people have a good record of either winning awards like Player of the Month or something like that, or scoring goals when they come on this podcast. So expecting you to bang one in. Yeah. So thanks very much once again for tuning in to this episode of Shout at Yeovil podcast. Apologies for the inconsistencies of the episodes this season. Life just got in the way a bit, and something's got to give, but here we are back with another episode, and I'll maybe even get another one out before the end of the season. Thanks again to my guest Cameron Palmer for coming on Shout at Yeovil, and I'll see you again soon.